Welcome to another episode of our Geek Cabal podcast, Cabal Whisperings. This will be episode 33. This is the second week of March, right?
That'd be correct.
Yes, we're towards the end of the second week of March, 2025. It's been a month since I'm Bobbie.
I'm Owen.
And it's been about a month since we got together. It's also taken me a month to edit the other video. It's actually in the editor right now at my house. So that one's going to be a little, late on arrival. Hopefully I get this one up well before the next one. But yeah, so we're still experiencing some issues getting everyone together. Chad has random obligations sometimes. Jimmy's got a lot going on. So here we are. Excuse me. So, some channel news quickly. Done a lot of Battletech videos recently, and I've got a lot more on the horizon. I'm going through all the stuff I got through the Mercenaries Kickstarter, doing a bunch of unboxings. I do have some more lore videos planned. I know it's been a little bit since I did any of those, but I have some more planned. I'm working on them, trying to make sure I'm read up on the topics I'm going to be discussing, because there's other things I don't just know off the top of my head, like stuff about the Dark Age. And I want to be as thorough as possible, which is actually really hard with Battletech because the lore is spread out everywhere. Like, oh, you didn't read that random free story that was available in 2006 on this German website? Like, well, no, sorry, I didn't. Well, something important happened there. Sucks to be you. It's like, thanks. Or like, in the MechWarrior Click game, the rares used to come with file cards that had canon information on them. And unless you have them all and read them all, you don't know what the hell's in them. So, yeah, it's everywhere. It is a mess. Like, it's a glorious mess, but it's a mess. So, so I got some of those videos coming. I've got some new Lego sets I'm going to be building. Some more flower sets, actually. And then I'm going to do a video showing like the different arrangements you can make with the ones that I'll build in the other videos. So, yeah. About a third of the way into the Battletech book I'm reading right now. That's kind of slow going. Not the book's fault. It's my fault. I have done some short story reviews. The reviews will probably take you about as long as it would take to read the short story itself. But, people are interested, so they're out there. They also do include links to where you can get the free short stories, which I reiterated this in the last video, but get them as soon as you can because they're only up for a month apparently. I'm going to have a new update, the March Battletech update video. I'm going to be recording that here in the next couple days because they finally released all their stuff, which will also include a statement on the tariff situation. It's not terrific. Sorry. I had to try it. I got nothing out of Owen on that one. That's a dad joke. It's not terrific.
I understood the joke.
Okay, oh God, that's even worse. You got it. It just wasn't funny at all. All right, well, I'm not going to quit my day job, so. At least not to be a comedian. Maybe talk to you fine folks. But,
well, I don't know. When was the last time you saw a comedian who was actually funny?
I mean, I see him on YouTube, so. But, yeah, that's most of what I got planned for the moment. God, there was something else, and it's going to come to me later, but, and then as far as other videos lately, I've been doing, some more movie review stuff. There's going to be a video. We're going to be talking about this in this video, but I'm going to do a more in-depth video for Daredevil Born Again. The first couple episodes are up. And if I make it to go see Captain America, I'll do my video on it. And then I think there's some other movies coming up that look interesting. There's a couple anime movies that are going to be in theaters here shortly. Older ones. One is Gundam Char's Counterattack, which is the finale to the Universal Century storyline. I think it's like the 35th anniversary for that. And then the 40th anniversary for Vampire Hunter D. will be on in a few weeks. And thank you to Brian from Boston for sending me a link to all that stuff, by the way. Then this coming weekend, not today's a Saturday, next weekend for us will be the Indiana Comic-Con. I'll be going part of Friday and Saturday. I don't know if I'll go Sunday because I'm going to be going to watch Char's Counterattack Sunday. And maybe go to the Lego show that's going to be in Indianapolis. Owen, you're going though too, right?
Yeah, it should be Saturday.
Yeah, it's you, your dad, and some other folks.
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll at the very least get pictures, but I'm going to try to get some video. It's not quite as lively as Gen Con, but we'll get some stuff and throw together a video talking about it. We don't talk about comic books as quite as much as the other stuff on here. Talk about comic book movies and stuff, but not comic books nearly as much. Although we did in the last video quite a bit, talking about Spider-Man villains. But, yeah, so I'll see what we can get there. I don't know if they're as touchy on filming, because there's a lot of, like, art. And sometimes artists get a little touchy on you visually reproducing the things that they're visually producing. You know? It's kind of one of those things. But we'll see. Plus, I have no idea who'd even try to interview, because like no celebrity's going to sit down for any length of time, you know, because this is nothing. We're nobody. You know, this will not help their career one iota. But, you know, at least I don't think anyone would talk to us. I don't know. Ernie Hudson seems like a cool guy. He might, but I doubt it. Then, so yeah, there will be some celebrities there. Debating on getting pictures with them. Like I said, Ernie Hudson's one of them. He's kind of, I think he's the big name, in fact. Then also, there's a few people from Star Trek The Next Generation are going to be there. It's Riker, Data, and Tasha Yar. There are some MCU folks. Vincent D'Onofrio was supposed to be there, but I think he canceled. But the gentleman that plays Luke Cage is going to be there. Marissa Tomei is going to be there. She played Aunt May, but I think she's far more well-known for My Cousin Vinny and an episode of Seinfeld where George had a crush on her, because who wouldn't? I mean, Marissa Tomei. Elvis's wife, Lisa Marie, is going to be there. My sister's thinking about going just for that, actually. Her and Rainn Wilson. So, Dwight, I think it's Dwight from The Office. I never watched The Office, so I'm sorry if I messed up his name, but I think it's Dwight. Schrute, I think is his last name. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. There's, you know, several anime and video game voice people are usually there.
Wasn't there a bunch of Power Rangers?
There's some subset of the Power Rangers are going to be there. I don't think it's any of the original 5, 6. I mean, obviously the original Yellow Ranger can't be there. You know, she's dead. Wai Trang, I believe was her name.
Oh, but there's certainly enough Power Ranger shows that...
Yeah, I mean, the show's been going for 20 some odd years. Like, there's so many iterations. Like, you can just throw together a grouping of them, throw some villains in there, and you got it. But no, I don't think any of the originals are there this year, but they have been in the past. I know, well, actually, Tommy's also dead, isn't he? The Green Ranger?
I don't know.
I think he died last year or the year before.
That does ring a bell.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we'll never actually see them together now, for sure. But, yeah, there's some other people there. There's some comic talent. You know, it's a comic book convention. I kind of expect that, but
Yeah.
I don't think they advertise who the comic book people are anymore. They're just kind of there.
No, but then, yeah. And then you have some other people, like, you have the voice actor for Soap from Modern Warfare 2. Not the original, the new one.
Yeah, I think the guy that does the voice of Cell from Dragon Ball Z is going to be there also. He was the standout to me. Like, I don't know him from anything else or anything. But it's like, I watched the Cell saga. I know who this guy is. I kind of relate to Dragon Ball Z stuff. I watched one chunk of it, which basically meant I saw the end of the Frieza saga, where Trunks just cuts him in half and then blows him up. And then the beginning, like, third of the Majin Buu saga. So then, of course, the Cell saga, you know, the Android saga and the Cell saga. So, yeah. As near as I can tell, the whole concept just repeats over and over again. more powerful villain shows up. They got to train. They almost die. They eat some sensu beans. They get stronger. Vegeta gets mad that Goku's stronger than him. Repeat. Except for the Majin Buu saga, where he finally came to realize that he actually liked Earth and liked, who's he married to?
How do you...
For some reason, Owen, I thought you watched Dragon Ball Z. Hang on.
I watched 3 episodes.
Because Trunks is his son, and, oh my god, I can't think of her name. Anyway, I watched it 20 years ago, people. I'm sorry. She has blue hair, worked for the Capsule Corp or owns Capsule Corp, and it's not Chi-Chi. That's who Goku's with, I think. Anyway, he actually, because he knows, if I remember, he knew he was going to die fighting Majin Buu or something, and was like, actually admitted that he liked her, liked his son, liked the Earth, and actually kind of liked Goku. And then went and fought Majin Buu. Something to that effect. So is major character growth for him. But yeah, I'm mainly going to be looking for omnibus comics, because I went through yesterday and realized I'm missing about 5 currently in print ones for my X-Men collection. Because my goal is to have everything from X-Men #1 up through, say, around the year 2000, give or take. Right now I have almost everything from 1 to the Age of Apocalypse. So I'm very close. I'm not so sure about after that point. We'll see. Because they just recently announced how they're going to do their Krakoan era omnibus books. And it's probably going to take 10 of them to fulfill the whole thing. So, because they're going to go in reading order, which is what they should have done from the beginning, instead of releasing them as oversized hardcovers for the series. Because what happened was, the main series, you had an X-Men book, X-Force, and various other books, but you were supposed to read them in a certain order that serpentine through everything. And so they were just releasing oversized hardcovers like just the X-Men, just X-Force, just Cabal. And other than, I think, the Hellions, none of them were self-contained enough to do that. And so now they're going to release the Omnis in the reading order. And so now I've got oversized hardcovers that are going to be pointless once I get the Omnis. So I'm going to sell them. And at least one other book I've got, 2 books I have will be made redundant by other books I'm going to buy. Because Uncanny X-Men Volume 5 has the same exact content as the Prelude to the Mutant Massacre, except that one has more stuff. So I have Uncanny X-Men Volume 5. I'm going to sell it and buy the Prelude to the Mutant Massacre. Because if I do that, then between all the books I have, I won't even need to buy the X-Factor Omnibus, because it's issues 1 to 42. I will have them in other books because of all the crossovers. I will have the first 42 issues just spread out everywhere. It's amazing. But anyway, so there's a few I'm looking for. I'm really hoping to find a Marvel vs. DC omnibus for not stupid high price, because I slept on that one and didn't buy it right as it came out. And that's probably not going to be reprinted from what I understand. So, and it's not just the 90s crossover, it's a bunch of other stuff. So it has like Superman versus Spider-Man and a bunch of other stuff from like going back to the 70s. Because there have been several Marvel and DC crossovers. People don't know about them. There's a lot of stuff going back. And even Marvel versus DC, the precursor to that is Green Lantern versus the Silver Surfer. So, yeah. Do that, maybe sell my singles. But yeah, then there's an amalgam omnibus for what came after, what came between issues 3 and 4, whenever Marvel and DC fused together, and like a lot of their characters combined to make other characters. It's like Wolverine and Batman became Dark Claw, with his trusty sidekick Sparrow, who was Robin and Jubilee put together, fighting the Hyena, who is Sabretooth and the Joker put together, who was trying to kill the president, who was Bill Clinton and Bill Clinton put together. It was still Bill Clinton. So, because it's the 90s. Post George W. Bush 90s, to be perfectly clear. Then You had like the Kingpin and the Riddler was the big question. Then you had like Thor and Orion. It became Thorion. That name kind of worked, but the others were just ludicrous. Like Loki and Desaad became Loki Desaad. Darkseid and Thanos became Thanoside. And yeah, and a few characters, like 3 characters combined. One was Doctor Fate, Doctor Strange, and Professor X. Randomly, like that one I didn't get. I don't know why the Professor X was needed there. But they created a character together called Access, who both companies co-own, and he can move between the dimensions and everything. Neither one's really ever done anything with him since then. But from what I read the other day, I guess there's been a cooling of tensions between Marvel and DC. They are planning another crossover sometime in the next year. So we can only hope it's good. Yeah, hope we don't have to overpay like I did for the JLA Avengers crossover I have. Got a paperback copy of that. It cost me $150. Because it did a limited print run of like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even think it's 100,000 copies. And because they're doing it to help George Perez, because he's the artist on it, and he was dying of cancer. He's passed away now. But that's the one that features probably one of the single greatest comic panels ever. Superman's charging into battle with Thor's hammer and Captain America's shield against somebody. Yeah.
Why?
I haven't read it. I'm afraid to touch the book given what I paid for it. I don't want to, it's a paperback. I don't want to crease the corners, you know.
I'm just saying I don't think Superman would need...
Well, the shield's almost indestructible, like Superman. And then the hammer just makes him even more powerful. So it just gives him more powers.
As if Superman wasn't already broken enough.
You mean like the review I saw one time for Superman 64 that said, this game is stupid and unrealistic. There should be one button labeled use powers. You hit it and you win.
Well, I mean, you know, instead of flying through, but, you know, Superman has to fly through the rings.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a flight simulator, but with Superman instead of a plane.
It's a bird, it's a plane.
No, it's just kind of a plane dressed like Superman. Speaking of, unfortunately, we lost Gene Hackman recently. Although it's apparently up for debate as to exactly when we lost him. Apparently there's some squirrely things there with his death. Like, I guess it's looking like he was dead for a while before they found him. And they still haven't said how he actually died, or his wife, or the dog. So, yeah, it looks like there's some shenanigans there. I mean, the man was like 96. But at the same time, like, his wife was like not 96. I think she was like 30 years his junior.
Just saying that there's some mysterious circumstances.
Well, they were dead in different rooms. They found her, like, there were pills up on the counter, but not down where she was. And maybe she dropped them and the dog ate them, and that's what killed the dog. The front door was unlocked. I mean, you know, there's some sketchy things. But, no, I saw a picture, reminded that the 3 main characters from Superman, the original one, are all passed now. He was the last one because Christopher Reeve died years ago, and Margot Kidder died several years ago too. It's a shame. The original Superman's a great movie, but yeah. Also, Michelle Trachtenberg died. Do you know who she was?
Well, I know who she is now.
I mean, she's dead now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen any of her work before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mainly knew her from the Buffy TV series. She showed up as Dawn, Buffy's younger sister. And then she was also in Eurotrip for the more comedic side of things. But yeah, she was 39. Like, I couldn't believe that when I read it. They say natural causes. And a lot of people are questioning, like, what kind of natural causes kill a 39-year-old? People had to explain like that's what you put whenever it's not an obvious homicide. But apparently she had a liver transplant recently, and they're at least the online folks speculate it's probably something related to that.
Complications.
Yeah. But yeah. And apparently I didn't watch the Academy Awards, but I guess they forgot to include at least one notable person in the people that died last year thing. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it's the guy that plays Theoden in Lord of the Rings.
And also the
captain on the Titanic. The guy who's in 2 of the 3 movies to win 11 or more Oscars wasn't mentioned at the Oscars. The only actor that qualifies for that, by the way, wasn't mentioned at the Oscars. Like, what a shit show. I'm glad I didn't watch it. I haven't watched it for years. I've been pissed off at the Oscars since Starship Troopers lost to Titanic for Best Special Effects. Like, I stand by that statement, too.
No, and what film even won Best Picture?
Well, I don't think that was the year that Saving Private Ryan somehow lost to Shakespeare in Love, but the year that happened was a travesty. Saving Private Ryan is a cinematic masterpiece. Shakespeare in Love is crap. Like, that's all there is to it. Like if they ever had any legitimacy, they don't anymore. The fact, like, Denzel Washington doesn't have, like, 10 Oscars is telling you something. Like, the fact Leonardo DiCaprio took so long to finally win one. I mean, it's crazy. You know, the fact that Lord of the Rings, that the first 2 movies didn't just rake in the Oscars. The fact Dune 2, I don't even think it was nominated for Best Picture this last year. And there's, like, several members even admitted they didn't watch the movie. Like, how do you not watch the movie and then vote? Like, that's the one thing you have to do. Oh well. And then they wouldn't put the soundtrack, they wouldn't put the score in there because it used too heavily the first movie's score. So put the original parts in there. It's still Oscar worthy. Ridiculous. I don't even remember which movie won. At least it wasn't the one that everyone thought was going to win.
What was that?
Amelia Perez, something like that. Because everyone thought it was going to win because the main character is a transgender character. You know, we know Hollywood goes in for that. The problem is the main character was also a murderous drug dealer.
A murderous drug dealer who underwent a gender operation, ignoring anything else, to basically start another life and apologize. Yeah, I'm sorry I killed your family, but I'm turning a new leaf now.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, like, the country of Mexico was pissed off at all this. Like, what are you doing, guys? Like, we don't like this person. Like, what? Then Selena Gomez is in the movie illustrating that she does not, in fact, speak Spanish. Because it was, like, very terrible Spanish, apparently. It sounded like if I tried to speak Spanish, which I only know un poquito. That's a little bit, in case you couldn't figure out what the visual aid they're doing. I think. I'm pretty sure. So, yo hablo un poquito en español. I think that's not how you say that properly, but you get the point. Those of you out there in the Espanol area. Also, I'm probably like totally destroying any subtitles that are put on this video automatically by switching to Spanish right there. But, you know, you'll figure it out in China.
No sé.
Muy bien. Muy bien.
Hey, I've taken 3 years of Spanish classes, and I've never got lower than an A on a speaking part.
Yeah, I took 3 years of Spanish, and I got a guy at work with me. He's Haitian. Good guy, good worker and everything. But doesn't speak very good English. But he also speaks Spanish. So I've occasionally had to ask him, like, to translate for people down there. But one time, I had to get the Haitian woman that works with me so she could tell him what to tell the Spanish guy and then run it back, you know. It was because I couldn't find a Spanish-speaking coworker down there. But anyway, now our employer has provided us with a translation app on our phone. So, but yeah, I really should finish learning to speak Spanish just to say I can do it. My sister speaks it fluently. Like, but yeah, I have no idea what we were on at that point, Owen. We were talking about, I think we were talking about channel news. We got off onto all this.
And now we're on the bashing the Oscars.
Yeah, I could do that all day long. But I'm not going to.
We have bigger and brighter things to move on to.
Yeah, we've got other things to bash before this is over with. Maybe, we'll see. But don't tune out yet. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for channel news. So look for stuff from Indiana Comic Con. Chad and I are going to be reworking our Gen Con tips videos here over the next month or two, because we've got to go back and rewatch what we did, write down the tips we actually made, try to make sure that everything makes sense, it's concise, organized, reshuffle, see if we need to break it up into multiple videos, and then we're going to film them. So that is in the works. There's not really any updates for Gen Con other than I hope you got your hotel, because now you're looking at like 14 miles from the convention center. I do have some advice on that, but I'll give that in another video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think we're going to be into our first quasi-topic that's going to be a little sprawling here. That's essentially, what have we watched lately? So, Owen, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? It's up to you.
I suppose I can go first.
All right.
So,
take it away.
About a couple weeks ago, I went to the theaters with a friend of mine to go see Captain America, Brave New World.
Oh, no, wait. Just pause for one moment. I just want to be clear. I have not seen the movie yet, so continue.
I will try to keep major spoilers light.
I appreciate it.
If it wasn't in the trailer, then I won't mention it.
I mean, I'm mainly just worried about the end. Like the last half hour, 40 minutes of the movie. Like anything up to that point.
Okay, so, well, first things out of the way. Yeah, the title doesn't really have anything to do with the movie. It's not actually about a new world order at all, or a brave new world, so to speak. It was alright. I'd say it was probably better than the Marvels.
Alright.
It was. I mean, it's not better than the Winter Soldier.
Few things are, as we talked about last time.
But I mean, I overall enjoyed the movie. I mean, there was definitely the film does jump around a lot.
So I tell you what, from like a technical aspects, like effects, editing, stuff like that. What do you have to say about the movie?
The editing scenes just kind of jump around, jumping from one place to another. And yeah, knowing about all the reshoots beforehand, it definitely made it more obvious to me. And the effects are mostly fine, although there is weird stuff, like near the beginning of the movie, the new Captain America Falcon is like, he shoots out of the sky and like lands, and there's just no crater, despite him going like over Mach 1.
Yeah, that should have left a crater. Or should have turned him to paste, one of the two.
Well, he's got like Wakandan technology now, so therefore,
okay,
landing at the ground at subsonic speeds just.
So do they actually mention that in the movie as far as his?
Yeah.
This one was like visually you figured out.
No, they straight up just tell you he has Wakandan technology now.
Okay, well,
which becomes relevant later.
Sure, I can imagine.
Giancarlo Esposito's character, Sidewinder, the Serpent Society, kind of gets sidelined in the movie and is not actually one of the primary antagonists.
Okay, but do they have their costumes?
No.
God damn it.
Giancarlo Esposito plays Sidewinder.
Like, I wasn't really expecting him to, but like, come on.
And yeah, the Serpent Society is now just a bunch of mercenaries.
Well, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about him from the comics, but that might not be too far off.
But no, I mean, not saying he's a bad actor, he's quite good. I mean, he does play similar characters in most shows or media he is in. But I mean, he was good in the movie. In the few scenes he was in.
So you're saying he's probably underutilized,
Yeah.
especially given that he's a pretty good actor.
Yeah. Um. What else? Well, the plot tries to be a spy thriller. It's essentially revolving around um, Captain America, who was Falcon, and the new Falcon, who's a different character. They go to a party at the White House with the what's the one dude from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show? The other Captain America, or the Super Soldier?
Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah, Isaiah Bradley. Essentially, they all go to a conference at the White House, and well, crap kind of hits the fan, and President Harrison Ford or President Ross almost gets assassinated.
This is his second term as president, because he was president once before in Air Force One. I don't remember. I think it's Air Force One. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. He must have gotten elected to a non-consecutive second term.
Too soon.
Yeah, sorry. It might be too soon for some people. Don't tread into real world topics. Sorry. Yeah, you were saying President Ross.
Well, no, yeah.
Lost the mustache.
Well, no, yeah. Essentially, like Isaiah Bradley, tries to kill the president, but it's clear that he's not doing it out of his own will. So now then it becomes who did this? Who set this up? Who controlled him? And there's an investigation going down, which leads them to finding out who the real villain is.
So, I'm going to ask you a question. Have we seen this person before?
Yes.
Is the leader?
Yes.
Okay. I knew he was in the movie. He's in one of the trailers, but yeah. And I'd heard that he was. So he the real villain?
Yeah, he's the real villain. It's not an ending spoiler because it's revealed halfway through the movie.
Does he have the giant head?
No, they changed his design.
Oh, no.
Instead of having the big bulging forehead, he's
He doesn't have the butt head, does he?
No, he looks like some sort of zombie freak.
Ugh. That's unfortunate. Because the leader either needs to have a giant head like Sinestro, or he's got to have, or they're going to go with the bulbous kind of butt-looking head. That's a shame. Did he have a mustache?
No.
Man, didn't even give him the mustache. What is going on over at Marvel? No costumes for the Serpent Society. No mustache for the leader. Anyway, continue.
And yeah, it's essentially going to where it's clear that somebody's trying to get back at Ross, but how, well, that's what they're trying to figure out. And it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but Red Hulk also doesn't actually get much screen time. It's about 5 minutes.
So is it mainly like a battle towards the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Does Red Hulk have his, burning powers also?
No.
Huh.
Because if he did, I don't think Captain America Falcon would...
Oh, yeah, I guess if we grabbed a hold of him, that wouldn't work. So, yeah, okay. Now, I have to ask one question, and I think this is a potential spoiler, but someone talked about it in another review I saw. At some point, does Captain Falcon also, borrow some other things? I've heard he's wearing, Ant-Man's helmet and something else at one point.
Well, yeah, he's not wearing Ant-Man's helmet, but he's got, the nanotech helmet that can just flip over.
Okay.
Because putting on an actual helmet's too hard in modern-day Marvel.
Yeah. Well, the actors got to show their faces. No one's committed, I cannot think of his name, played Judge Dredd. Not Stallone, but in the newer one. Carl Urban, where he wears the helmet throughout the whole movie, even in the shower at one point, I think, if I remember correctly. No, I'm not. He's not wearing the shower. You just can't see his head. Then he puts the helmet on. But still, no one has that kind of or Hugo Weaving in V for Vendetta. Never seen his face throughout the whole movie either. But anyway, let me think. I did have one or two questions. Is the other Falcon? Is he the guy that was also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Is a Hispanic guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember what his code name there was.
I forgot he was actually in the show.
Yeah, I can't remember what his code name there was, but he's the new Falcon essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember kind of liking his character, so I'm glad they put him in there.
Yeah, there are also a couple other cameos in the movie.
Oh.
At one point, it's not really a spoiler, but you do get to see Bucky's in the movie, and it's revealed it's not actually relevant to the plot. It turns out he's running for a Congress.
Yeah, I think the thing for the Thunderbolts talked about him being in the Senate or something. So
I don't know how exactly that's all gonna shape up.
I mean, he meets the age qualification. He's like 105, so. He'll be right up there with our current senators. Yeah, let's see. Was there anything, without saying what it was there anything that might tie into the Thunderbolts movie other than that? Like it was Francesca Della, whatever her name is, in it?
No, although no, that's not really anything that would tie into the Thunderbolts movie.
Okay. Is there an end credit scene?
There is.
I don't know what it is, but there is one.
It doesn't say anything.
Great. I love those. Like the one in Spider-Man with Captain America. Do you remember that one? Comes to the end, and it's from the video that it's set up like the video they were watching in class, where the one teacher put it on, like, yeah, I think he might be a war criminal now, but whatever, because it's during Civil War.
Yeah.
And Cap comes on there and he's like, sometimes your patience pays off, and sometimes you wait around for nothing. And that's it. I was like, all right, that was funny. But, like, don't ever do this to me again, Marvel.
No, the end credit scene is waiting around for nothing. Waiting around for something you already knew.
Oh, great. Okay, so I have one other question. Does part of the plot involve trying to, like, mine the celestial body of whatever for adamantium?
Yes.
Okay.
Which involves conflicts between, like, India, because it's in the Indian Ocean, France, the U.S., and Japan.
Yeah, did I hear correctly that, like, they tried to imply that, like, we were going to go to war with Japan over it?
Ignoring how
Japan doesn't have a military that we couldn't crush in 5 seconds flat.
Well, yeah, because if you didn't know, after World War II, the United States was very particular on Japan not having a large military due to
what we just went through.
Yeah, so while Japan does have a military, it's very heavily under the supervision of the United States. So basically the point is it's very unlikely that Japan would want to go to war with the United States over mining rights.
So I suppose the question is, do you think that might have started life as China and not Japan? Before Disney remembered, oh wait, that's one of our huge markets, we probably better not go with that plot. Because that would actually make sense. Kind of like the remake of Red Dawn, where they're fighting off like North Koreans, and it's like, the North Korean army isn't big enough to invade the United States in any meaningful way. Like, this obviously was China at some point in this script. I don't know if it would look like that or not, but...
I mean, I suppose it could have, but then again, with Disney's writing quality,
Yeah, I suppose there is that factor to consider. But yeah, here's an interesting little side note I came across the other day about all that. I saw this comic image from Japan where they referred to Douglas MacArthur, General MacArthur, as the last shogun. Like, apparently, like, they kind of revere him over there because he beat them. You know, they're like, he's a worthy adversary. And, like, for a while, he was essentially, like, the ruler of Japan. So, like it's weird. There's all kinds of artwork of him, like in, like, Japanese design, you know, with everything, like, you know, the big pipe and everything, like, as the shogun over Japan. Weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, so like I said, as near as I could tell, they looked at it as, you know, well, he beat us. Like, clearly he's a worthy adversary. Like, and for a while, he was technically the ruler of the country, is how it worked. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just like one of those, like, wow, I've never heard of this before. Like, okay. He's literally, I think I was on Twitter and someone was like, so, you want to see some cool Douglas MacArthur art from Japan? I was like, sure. Don't know where this is going, but why not? One of the few non-cesspool things I've come across on Twitter. By the way, folks, that place is a pit. Like, and anything political, like, avoid it like the plague. Like, it's just wall-to-wall ignorance. It is painful. Like, and I'm not even singling out a side on that one. Like, it's pretty all-encompassing. Yeah. So anyway, speaking of, now we'll get to that later. Just remind me, the big T, because now they might actually come into effect. So yeah. So see anything else? Like, okay, let me ask you this one: would you recommend someone go watch this movie?
I would recommend it.
Okay.
It's not the greatest, but it's not horrible.
All right, because I'm going to try to go watch it, because so far I have watched, I think, all of the MCU movies in theaters. I don't think I've missed any of them. No, I take that back. I missed Black Panther 2. I kind of regret it. That movie wasn't bad. No, I also didn't go see Ant-Man 3. I guess I have missed a few of them in theaters.
Well,
I saw everything up to Endgame, but after that, kind of...
Well, from what I hear about Ant-Man 3, Captain America's probably better than Ant-Man 3.
I sincerely hope so, because Ant-Man 3 was not good. It's not absolute trash, but man, is it not good. Like, I didn't even know what the hell Bill Murray was doing in that movie. Yeah, Bill Murray's in it, by the way. Sorry to spoil a cameo. And Kang gets defeated by communist ants. I wish I were joking. Literally, they come up with Hank Pym leading them, and he's literally like, yeah, they've got some interesting ideas on socialism. They seem to have it all hammered out. And I'm just like, God damn it, Hank. Of course they do. They're ants. They're a hive species. They can do socialism well. Like, that's what they do. Read Starship Troopers, you moron. Like, Heinlein was very clear. The bugs are commies. Anyway, oh, speaking of Starship Troopers, a little side tangent here, because I haven't done the video on it yet, because I keep getting pissed off. There's going to be a new adaptation of the book from Hollywood. Now, the way it's being phrased is it's a remake of the other movie, but hopefully it's an actual attempt at an adaptation of the book, because the other movie is not a very good adaptation. It's an entertaining movie, but it's not a very good adaptation. And I'm hoping they actually do try to adapt it, but I'm afraid that they're a little too, commie sympathetic to actually adapt it, because again, Heinlein was very, very clear. Literally in the book, he calls them the perfect commies. Like, yeah. No, I think Hollywood would be hard pressed to actually make that right. They'll be too tempted to change things. Yeah, but a little side note, because I've seen this comment out there before, people trying to say Heinlein was a fascist. They have clearly never read his other work. Just read Stranger in a Strange Land about horny space Jesus and tell me that that man was a fascist. He clearly wasn't. Also, the moon is a harsh mistress, where people overthrow the fascist government controlling them. Like, no. Clearly he's not. People are crazy. Paul Verhoeven didn't know what the hell he was talking about. So sorry, folks. That's about every 6 months, Starship Troopers makes a big surge on the internet, And one group of people's like, "Oh, you guys don't understand. It's a commentary on fascism." Like, no, you don't understand. Paul Verhoeven is an idiot. He just said that and read one chapter of the book and then put Dookie Howser in an SS officer's uniform in the last 5 minutes of the movie and called it a day. The movie features no fascism. It can't be a critique of fascism if it doesn't show fascism. Like, that's not how it works. Anyway, sorry, Owen, you were saying. Sorry off the tangent, folks. That's why I can't make the video on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Starship Troopers, like, I don't know, like, they made a video game on it, but it's not even the most popular space bug shooting game.
Well, I was going to say, didn't they call it Helldivers?
Well, no, yeah, Helldivers 2 has, like, tens of thousands of players, and Starship Troopers is, like, what, 179?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never played either game, but that was what caused the big surge about a year ago, was Helldivers 2. People were like, man, this is an awful lot like Starship Troopers. And, Starship Troopers, that awesome critique of fascism, you mean? Be like, no, you moron. Like, no, it's not a critique of fascism. Like, it's not a satire either. It's just, yeah. So anyway, that's why it keeps popping up.
So, what have you watched as of recent?
Well, I've watched videos about Starship Troopers. Let's see. I've watched the first couple episodes of Daredevil Born Again, which so far that's excellent. I'm going to do a longer video on it, but in brief, it's really good. They brought back everyone from the Netflix series that's relevant so far, which is Daredevil, the Kingpin, Foggy, and Karen. And I believe the trailer shows the Punisher at some point.
It does. I've actually watched that.
Yeah, so he should be in there. Plus, he's supposed to be getting another show on Disney Plus also. For anyone... Okay, so I'll explain this in the other video, but there's some homework you're going to need to do to watch this. You do need to see the Netflix TV series, because this is a direct continuation of that. Apparently, it wasn't going to be originally. It apparently was going to follow his appearance in She-Hulk. And they were like halfway done filming all the episodes when they were like, no, this is not going to work. Reverse course, redo everything, bring the original people back. So yeah, because like Matt was going to be the same. I just don't even know if the Kingpin was going to be involved, and I don't know about the other two. So, also, I can tell you that Bullseye is in it so far. And if you've seen the Netflix TV series, you know that it was very violent. So is this. Like, any kind of like, oh, this won't be as violent. That thought is gone 5 minutes into the first episode with the fight with Bullseye. Yeah. And it's clearly a continuation, because they reference the fact the Kingpin decapitated a guy with a car door a couple times, because he's running for mayor of New York City. And I will say that some people are going to read way too much into this. That a former felon is running for high office with a sketchy past that some people don't like, on a promise of essentially making someplace great again. Like, people are going to draw parallels. They're largely baloney parallels, because it's from a comic book storyline from 2015. So, you know, nothing to do with current events. I'm sure it was chosen because of current events, but so far, like, yeah, it's there, but it's not beating you in the face. Just ignore it, if you know, or embrace it if you prefer. Your choice. Let's see. Yeah, so far, like I said, it's great. For reasons explained in the show, because of a major spoiler that I'm not going to spoil, Matt is kind of sworn off being Daredevil after the first little bit of the first episode. But then the Kingpin actually becomes the mayor. He wins the election. And the two of them have a very lengthy conversation in a diner where basically Kingpin warns him, like, hey, you stay out of my business, I'll stay out of yours. I'm not after you. I'm the mayor now. I'm trying to help the city. I know you have reservations about that, but you stay away from me. I'm not going to mention anyone that I know who you are, because I am going after costume vigilantes, because this is the job of the police. And in his little spiel, he does, in fact, he mentions Daredevil, but also mentions Spider-Man and a few other people, and the Punisher. So I don't know if we're going to see Peter Parker. I'm assuming not, but you never know. So you need to see the Netflix shows, which really means you need to see Daredevil season 1, 2, and 3, and you need to see the Defenders. But to understand the Defenders, you're also going to need to see Luke Cage season 1, and I think 2, Jessica Jones season 1 and 2, and Iron Fist season 1, at which point you may as well just watch them all the way through. Because, like I said, the Punisher's getting a show, so it's probably only a matter of time before the others show up. But yeah, you also need to see the Hawkeye show to understand like a little bit that's happened with the Kingpin during his Cuban pimp phase. At least that's what he was dressed up as. Probably why Echo shot him in the face. But anyway, I have no idea if the Echo series had anything to do with any of this. I haven't watched it. So I heard the end is quite preposterous. And I heard it's like really hard to, like, I mean, no disrespect or anything, but like when your main character is deaf and missing a leg, like there's only so much you can do with that narratively, especially when the person apparently isn't the greatest actress in the world. So that's what I heard anyway. I'm just going to get around to watching it at some point. But yeah, so far this show's great. But yeah, only 2 episodes in though, so we'll see. I've thought that about other things Disney's produced. And then, well, then the rest of the episodes happened. Not like The Acolyte. That was crap from the get-go. Skeleton Crew wasn't bad, though. Let's see. So I saw that. I've watched about the first 3/4 of War of the Rohirrim. The animated Lord of the Rings movie. It takes place a couple hundred years before the live-action movies. So far, it's pretty good. I really don't agree with a lot of the complaints. I haven't seen uneven animation, which is something I've heard. It all looked pretty good to me. But also, I've definitely heard some people complaining about the fact that, you know, the main character is a girl boss. It's like, well, I mean, yes and no, but I lean more towards no. Because she definitely like gets herself involved in stupid situations and has to be rescued by other people, which already puts her as a narrative character above Rey from Star Wars. She loses people. She's unable to save her dad when it comes down to it, who, by the way, he goes down like a boss. Helm Hammerhand. Yeah. Literally, like, freezes to death fighting people and killing them. Like, because he can't get back into the fortress. So, yeah. Also, like, the thing that sets the whole thing in motion is one of these guys comes in and is like, oh, you're going to marry your daughter to my son over here. And he's like, the hell I am. He's like, oh, you're weak, Helm, and your house is failing. He's like, let's take this outside, like men. Hits the dude one time and kills him. Like one punch, dead. Like that's what Helm Hammerhand is known for doing. That's why his name is Helm Hammerhand. And his only mistake was shouldn't have let his son leave. Like whenever he's sitting there, like I'm gonna kill you and make you pay. Like that's the point where you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna let you live. I'm sorry. Like this seems like this is gonna be a problem down the road. Like you really should have just shut up. But yeah. So it's good so far. Reuses a lot of the music from the movies. The voice works pretty good. I do understand some of the complaints though, because like this is from a story that is like 4 pages long, and it is a 2.5-hour movie. It has to embellish a lot. The girl doesn't even have a name in the story. She's just Helm Hammerhand's daughter, who is referenced once. And here they named her Hera, which people pointed out is the name of a Greek goddess, and the the good folks of Rohan, their language is not derived from Greek, so her name probably shouldn't be Hera. And like, given that Tolkien was a linguist, that would have mattered to him. Then there's a few other parts about the plot that are a little, like I have no idea where they got Muma kills, and some things like that. But overall, I think it's entertaining so far. I think it had to try really hard to screw things up in the last half hour or so I've got left in the movie. It's on HBO Max, by the way, in case you are wondering how I watched part of it, because it's definitely not, I don't think it's for sale on DVD yet. I wanted to go watch it in theaters, but I couldn't find a theater nearby that was actually running it. But overall, like I said, I think it's good. Once I watch the whole thing, I'll do a separate video on it. But yeah, I think a lot of the complaints were overblown. It's entertaining. And I don't have a problem with them going back and being like, hey, this one story conceivably could have had more female characters or greater presence. Like, let's go with that. Like, I get it. You want to expand the fan base. It's not destroying any other lore. Like, that's fine. Do it. Women want to have some characters in Lord of the Rings. I don't have a problem with that. It's whenever you go and like intentionally just destroy things, like Hera so far hasn't been like good. They haven't gone the route of, oh, we're going to make her look good by making all the men look stupid. With it, that's what they do in other movies. And that's what irritates people like me. Just make them competent and good. You don't actually have to tear down other people to make other people look good. It's the same thing I see with people talking about the Star Wars movies, particularly the sequels. They're like, oh, well, the George Lucas movies were bad too. And it's like, that's not the own you think it is. That means you like bad movies, first of all. Because that's your whole argument is those other movies are bad too. You're acknowledging the sequels are bad. But number two, you're objectively wrong. Those are masterpieces. Sequels are trash. Like, I'm sorry. You're never going to tear them down to the point that somehow the sequels are good. That's just never going to happen. So, try something else, like making good movies. Or getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know. I think the only other thing I've watched is started trying to figure out where I left off in The Walking Dead.
Which Walking Dead show?
The main series. Because I think I have like 3 seasons to go. Because I stopped sometime shortly after Rick left the show, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where it was. I should just go back to that episode and start watching, except I know I've watched the episode after that like 3 times now, trying to get to where I'm trying to go. And I started to watch the show Blacklist, based on clips from YouTube, before I realized it had 10 seasons. So that's going to be a long-term project. James Spader, though, he's great. He was definitely the perfect voice for Ultron. And a lot of people were like, oh, James Spader would be good for Ultron. No. James Spader was perfect for Ultron. Ultron would definitely have just an absolute snarky, I hate everyone kind of speech patterns, like, because he does. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't think I've watched much else of note recently. So, I didn't mention anything earlier, did I? Anything else that you can remember?
No, but there is something I forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah?
So, Secret Level is... It's not it's on Amazon Prime, and it's essentially a collection of different short episodes based off of different video games. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, probably.
I've only watched 2. The second episode is based off of Sifu, which is a kung fu video game. The gimmick being that whenever the protagonist dies, he has this amulet that resurrects him, which makes him more skilled, but also he's older. Yeah, that one was pretty good. It was really short, and it doesn't actually show the final fight against the boss, and it also changes the lore from the video game, because the person who kills his father in the video game is this dude named Yang, but in the show it's one of the bosses before him. So it's kind of weird, but I mean, like the effects and like the animation was really good. It all it flowed well and it looked like the it's definitely violent. So I liked it. And the last episode, it's not a specific video game. It's like multiple video games, not like Wreck-It Ralph is. It's really weird how they do it, and it's exclusively Sony properties. Essentially, there's like this courier girl who's doing side quests, and she has to deliver this package to some place, and like gets chased by like the Helldivers, except they're
Excuse me.
the Helldiver. Kratos is there for like 5 seconds, except it's like the new Kratos, not the old Kratos. So he's got like the beard, and well, essentially the point is that oh, it was her childhood home, and yada yada. Video games can make connections, so they aren't all bad. That was essentially the point of the episode.
All right.
Yeah, there was other episodes, but I didn't get to watch them. Like there's one on Warhammer 40K. I hear that one was good.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, if you did check it out, well, I don't. I watched it on my friend's Amazon Prime account because I don't actually have Amazon Prime. I was over at his house. Yeah, I recommend watching the one on seafood. That one's good. I'm probably gonna check out the one on Warhammer if I ever get around to it. There's also one on Dungeons and Dragons. So that one might also be worth checking out. What else? There's one on Concord. I hear that one's not good.
Yeah. Maybe we'll delete it.
Yeah, I mean, releasing an episode based off a game that doesn't exist anymore.
It's a bold move.
Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's one on Pac-Man. It's interesting for what I hear. I might need to actually check that one out.
No.
And then there's some other games I'm not really familiar with.
There's one on Mega Man, isn't there?
I think there might be one on Mega Man.
Yeah.
No, so overall, when I watched, I think it's mostly a good series, but it's not. From what I hear, it's not a lot of people actually watched it, so who knows?
Oh, like Andor, season 1. Easily the greatest thing on Disney Plus. Nobody watched it. Speaking of, I'm going to need to rewatch that because Andor season 2 comes out in April. So, of course, starts in April because they don't release everything all at once. But
Oh, yeah, I've seen the trailer for that.
the newer one from like the last week or two.
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't watch all of Andor season 1. I probably should. When I watched it, it was good. It's definitely slow, which
Yeah, there's a reason why they released the first 3 episodes all at once instead of the 1 or 2 like they usually do. Like, you need to get past them to get into the better parts. But they are important. So. Oh, and apparently, it looks like I was wrong from something I said in the last video. I think it's a TIE Advanced and not a TIE Interceptor that he's stealing. Because it looks like it has the reverse points also, and not just the forward ones. And there's missiles on the wings. So
yeah. And we're gonna get Krennic.
yeah, Krennic's going to be in there. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see Tarkin, because he'll be CG again.
Hopefully better CG than last time.
I thought Rogue One was all right, but yeah, I'm sure it's improved.
I'm not saying it was bad last time. I'm just saying the internet absolutely tore that scene to shreds.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have Galen Erso. I think Saw Gerrera's in it again. I think I saw him in the trailer. I don't know who else. I mean, we already know Mon Mothma's in it because she's a main character from season 1. I wouldn't think Jen would be in there because I think we're too close to Rogue One. I don't think she would have still been a Saw Gerrera at this point. I wouldn't think so anyway. I don't know. I don't think we'd see the 2 Guardians that they picked up on Jeddah, because narratively I don't know how you'd fit him in there. So yeah, maybe Bail Organa.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I mean Jimmy Smith seems to be up for it. I think he does a good job, and obviously the more we can shoehorn him into everything, like the more tragic the destruction of Alderaan is.
Yeah, because he was an Obi-Wan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hear we're supposed to be getting a season 2 of that.
I would be looking forward to see how that turns out, because Kenobi was an interesting show.
I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. My main problem was like, this really doesn't feel like this fits in canon in either canon. Like running into Vader again, protecting Leia, like this feels like this is like almost fan fiction level stuff. It wasn't bad or anything, but like it just feels like it doesn't fit. You know, it feels like Leia would have been like, "Oh yeah, General Kenobi, the guy who saved me. I know him." You know, not like, "Oh, well, you know, it's a shame that guy died. Who was that guy again?"
Yeah.
You know, things like that. If they do a season 2, though, I know like it'll kind of screw with the other canon, but I hope it culminates in his fight with Darth Maul.
Yes. Because to see his, fighting Maul again, you have to watch Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah. Which Rebels wasn't bad. I watched most of it.
Rebels wasn't a bad show. It's just the fact that it was only on, Disney XD?
Yeah.
Which is Disney's, other I think Disney XD is still up, like the actual Disney channel is, I don't know, it's weird, but at least Rebels is on Disney Plus now, so you can watch it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I need to go back and watch Clone Wars. That's the one I actually didn't watch much of.
Yeah. No, Clone Wars and Resistance, they're not... Okay, well, Rebels is certainly more kiddie than Clone Wars is, especially Clone Wars later seasons.
Well, I mean, parts of it are, until that episode where Ahsoka very clearly dies fighting Vader.
Yeah.
Like, that was a brutal episode. Because, several of the Inquisitors bought it in that episode. Then Ahsoka buys it fighting Vader, and, it's clear that's what happens. And then you see everyone's reaction to it. Like, whenever Kanan and Ezra go back and tell the clones and everything, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess. I mean, at least it's better than Star Wars Resistance.
I never watched any of that.
I have not watched it either, but from what I hear, it's not very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't win them all.
Especially about a show based during the sequel trilogy.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, Star Wars Resistance, deals with the sequel trilogy. First Order, Kylo Ren. That's why it's called Resistance and not Rebellion.
Yeah, and then of course they've got Ahsoka season 2 coming up, which, like I said last time, I keep hearing that Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman are going to be in it, and apparently Tamura Morrison, I think, is on board as well.
Which means
don't know how many characters he's going to play. Could play a lot, or maybe just Commander Cody. I don't know.
we're going to get more Clone Wars flashbacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get to the point that they're just like, let's just make live action Clone Wars. Are you guys down? Okay. We'll get the younger girl who played Ahsoka in the flashback to play Ahsoka there. We'll get everyone else and we'll just run with it. Use CG Christopher Lee. We'll cast someone to play Asajj Ventress, and just let us go to town. But yeah, I don't think I watched anything else recently. Andor comes out next month. I think I already mentioned the anime movies. So, yeah, I think it's about it. Well, Thunderbolts comes out in May. We know that now. And apparently the Sentry is the villain from the looks of things. So, I have no idea how that team is supposed to stop Sentry.
I'm wondering how that's going to work. Bucky's pretty strong, but he's not evil Superman strong.
Well, I think even in the trailer they say something to the effect of like, we're mainly people that shoot guns. How are we supposed to stop that?
Well, you have what the red.
Yeah, you got the Red Guardian, like, but he's not even like Captain America level strong. So I think Bucky's actually stronger than him.
Yeah,
Because I think Bucky got the weird super soldier serum.
yeah, you got Black Widow's sister.
Yeah.
You got Ghost from Ant-Man 2.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she can like phase through him and do something, maybe.
And
And Taskmaster.
yes, Taskmaster. And what did I still can't get over what they did to him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't forget you have US Agent.
Well, he's got the super soldier serum, so I mean, or a version of it anyway.
But
So like you got a few like kind of strong people, but yeah, like you said, nowhere near just like evil Superman strong.
I'm wondering how that's gonna all work.
Yeah. We'll find out. Maybe it's just a buddy comedy show and they all just die in the end.
That'd be tragic.
Like, yeah, we really couldn't beat that guy. What were we thinking? Call in Thor or something. Uh, yeah, I don't know. And then we have the Fantastic Four that we talked about last time. That'll come out later in the year. I wonder if they're shooting for July 4th weekend for that one. I gotta check. And I don't think the Mandalorian movie comes out this year, right? I think it's next year.
It would have to be next year, I would think.
Yeah.
I hope the Mandalorian movie's good. I hope all these movies are good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to fail or anything. Like I said in the other video, like I'm gonna watch them, so hopefully they're good. But yeah, they're getting closer to bringing the X-Men over to live action for the MCU because we're starting to hear more rumors about castings and stuff. So, speaking of rumors, there are two Star Wars related rumors that we're going to talk about.
The main one, and then one.
Yeah, the first one I did a video on, but like there's been some things, plus I want to know what Owen's take on all this is. So, the rumor, and I wouldn't normally talk about this, but this was actually reported on in some of the papers in LA for people that we know have people inside Lucasfilm. That's why people gave this credence. But the rumor is that Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, the cause of all of our troubles, maybe I'll comment on that here in just a second, actually, is stepping down at the end of the year. Now, there's nothing in there saying that it's because Bob Iger has fired her. There's nothing in there saying that she finally got done destroying Star Wars. There's nothing in there saying any of that. I mean, she's in her 70s. Like, she might want to actually, like, live her life because destroying Star Wars is busy work. Like, that takes real effort. Good job, Kathy. But, no, like less sarcastic. Here's the weird thing. On the one hand, I do actually blame her for most of the trouble because she hires the people who are causing the trouble and then has no oversight, apparently, or agrees with what they're doing. But on the other hand, under her watch, we also got Rogue One, which is excellent. We got Andor, which is fantastic. We got Solo, which is at least watchable. We got Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, which are, they're decent. Like we were talking about. They're not great, but they're not terrible either. We got the final season of Clone Wars, which I haven't watched.
We got like the first two seasons of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Two out of three ain't bad on The Mandalorian, We've got good stuff. So it's hard for me to be like, screw you and the horse you rode in on. Because things that are good were also produced under her. It's just that I think on balance, there's been a lot more bad. And so, I don't want to sit here and just completely trash talk her. But at the same time, like, I'm going to be happy when she's gone. unless we somehow find a worse situation that we're in, which is hard to fathom, but it's possible because I've learned in life there's no bottom. It can always get worse. Like, there's all kinds of ways you haven't even thought of for things to get worse. The universe will provide. Have no fear on that. There is no bottom to how bad things can get. So, always keep that in mind. But anyway, Owen, you got any thoughts on this whole matter?
I think, I'm hopeful that the rumors do turn out to be true because it means that some form of change is going to happen. However, change is not always good. Someone worse could take her place. Do I doubt that? Perhaps, but it's always an inherent possibility.
Yeah. So the there's 3 rumored frontrunners that I've seen. One that would just baffle me to no end. That'll be the last one I speak of. One is old Filoni Baloney, Dave Filoni. He's the guy where you think you're getting filet mignon, but instead you get Filoni Baloney. I personally would prefer the second person I'm going to mention. I think Filoni would be better than Kennedy, but I don't think he would be good because he's too obsessed with the characters he's created. It's not that he's not a fan. Like, he has that going for him. He is clearly a Star Wars fan. It's just that, like, this would be like finding that super fan who constantly writes you stories, like sends in stories to comic book writers, like, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do this, and the stories are bad. Like, hiring them just because they're a fan. Like, no, you need to find a fan that also understands good storytelling. That's the other part of the equation. That's why studios. That's why a lot of times you hear about them. Oh, we tried to find people that weren't fans, because if you're a fan of something, you can gain a level of obsession, and it blinds you to whether or not the product is good, because it's just product. And so, like Andor was made by someone who hated Star Wars. Like, and it's like the most Star Wars thing that exists now, like on Disney Plus. Greatest show ever. Because he's like, I'm just going to make this show, but we're going to give it the veneer of Star Wars, but we're going to make it fit. Because I might dislike it, but I respect the lore. Or like whenever J. Michael Straczynski wrote Babylon 5. He's an atheist. But he did not demean religion in that show. Like, he showed respect towards religions. Like, he had several opportunities throughout the show to do so, and never did, because he understood that, like, where there's his beliefs, but his audience doesn't necessarily share them, or at least not his whole audience. Like, it's actually, by the way, Babylon 5 is spectacular. If any of you have never seen it, I cannot sing its praises highly enough. The first 4 seasons are great. The 5th season's okay, but, like, yes, definitely watch it if you ever get the chance. Yes, the special effects were made on a laptop in the 90s. They do not look good, but that's okay. The special effects in the original Star Trek series from the 60s don't look good either, but it's a fantastic show. Like, just know that, like, they're going to look like a video game cutscene, okay? It is what it is. Someone should spurge like $1 million and redo them all.
You need to be specific on video game cutscenes.
Yeah, okay, they look like better video game cutscenes, okay? They don't look like trash video game cutscenes, okay? Like as far as video game cutscenes go, these would have been like pretty high end. But they do kind of look that way. But even some of the shots are still spectacular. Like the Shadow warships still look great. But anyway, I digress. So the number 2 person in line is Jon Favreau. He is who I would like to see take it over of the options that have been presented, because he has experience. He helped set up the MCU, directed some of the Iron Man movies. He has experience as both an actor and a creative and a producer. This is what it's going to take to actually run the studio, because that's the other thing is, like, if Filoni's running it, he's not going to be writing, probably. He's not going to be doing the creative part. He's going to be actually, like, behind the scenes, like, okaying projects. That requires a level of vision that I don't know that he has. Whereas Favreau has demonstrated that he's done all the things in Hollywood. He can be the guy behind the decisions. Unfortunately, he might not want to, because he does still do acting stuff. He does still do things. So I don't know if he'll want to. I think he's the more capable person. And then there was the third one that just threw me for a loop. Kevin Feige. It's like, is he leaving the MCU or is he going to do both? Like, I trust him to do it as long as it's like phase 1 through 4 Kevin Feige and not whatever he's turned into now. You know, if it's that guy, yes. Because I've said forever, how is the MCU made in the same studio that Star Wars is being made? That look right over here to know how to do things, and they just refuse to do it. So, you know, have those things come over there. But yeah, now if it's not going to be them, I'd like to see like maybe Ron Howard, you know, because he did what? He tried to repair the Solo movie, if I remember right. He's a good director. He's got experience from like 30 years before I was born. You know, from the Andy Griffith Show. He's done all kinds of like production work and everything. He's a great director. He'll probably bring in his daughter, who's also a competent producer and director, Bryce Dallas Howard. She did a few episodes of The Mandalorian, I think. Or maybe, no, it's Skeleton Crew. But, so she's good, both in front of and behind the camera. We're going to talk about her for something else in the second rumor, by the way. But, yeah, you know, someone like him, you know, someone with a steady hand that knows what he's doing, you know. Although ideally, he'd never do it, but get Spielberg. I mean, why not? Because you know the first call he's going to make is, George, you want to come back and work on your movies some more? Because they're best friends. I mean, Spielberg, you know, he's Steven Spielberg, like he knows how to do things in Hollywood. I'd love to see him at least direct a Star Wars movie because I think he'd knock it out of the park. Ray Park.
I mean, yeah, saying Steven Spielberg's like, let me just find the most qualified guy there is.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is like the guy. Like, if I had to go, like, what do I need something done in Hollywood. Is Spielberg available? Like, yeah, I get it, but yeah, because you need someone that grasps what they have, what they could have, and that isn't going to pursue people like Rian Johnson for the trilogy. Rian Johnson could do a side project for sure. Like Taika Waititi could do a Star Wars movie. It just can't be the mainline movies. You know, they can do the other things. Like Taika Waititi's a competent director. You know, Rian Johnson has made good movies I like, just not The Last Jedi. You know, they'd maybe get Denis Villeneuve, you know, once he's done with Dune 3 to come in and make a movie. We know it'll look fantastic if he does. And, you know, just know where to put them. That's the biggest problem. You know, they should have never hired J.J. Abrams. I have no idea how he keeps getting work. He's got the same play and everything he does. It just apes Steven Spielberg. Just get Steven Spielberg. Quit getting the knockoff. It's like that episode of The Simpsons. There's a film festival, and Mr. Burns is like, get Steven Spielberg. Like, he made that movie about Schindler. He's like, I made bullets for the Nazis too, but mine worked, damn it. Because Mr. Burns is evil.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, we can't get him. Then get me his non-union Mexican equivalent. Then it cut to commercial and it comes back, Senor Spielbergo. That was a great episode. One of many. The Simpsons is a national treasure. Also predicts the future pretty regularly. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there anyone you would think, or do you have any thoughts on any of those guys?
Out of the three you mentioned, I'd probably say from my limited knowledge that I would just trust Jon Favreau the most. It's not that I don't enjoy Filoni, but I can definitely see your sentiments towards why he may not be the best pick.
Yeah, like I said, it comes down to, it's not that he's bad, okay? Like, at the very least, he likes Star Wars. He has that in his favor. If you can just get him away from constantly using his characters, but he said something one time that really turned me off. He was talking about, there was something that, like, didn't sync up with canon, and he's just kind of like, yeah, but I mean, they're different stories from different points of view. How do we know it doesn't? Something to that effect. And I'm like, you're talking about an unreliable narrator. That's a narrative choice. That's not the narrative choice Star Wars took. Star Wars took like third person omniscient narration. What we see is what's happening. We have no reason to doubt that. So you can't just introduce that with 6 movies and a couple TV shows existing. You know, 'cause that's why Lucas still owned it.
Now, well, I mean, it's possible that you could possibly, in a spin-off movie, have an unreliable narrator, but
Yeah,
but to say that the mainline movies are from the point of view of an unreliable narrator, it simply just doesn't make any sense.
right. You know, and that's well, like we were talking about the War of the Rohirrim earlier. Like in the very beginning of the movie, it says that like you will not find this tale written in the histories of such and such, and it's like that's the clever way of telling you this isn't from one of the books. You know, it's literally telling you this isn't there. Like, go read the 4 pages, but you're not going to find this story. And I was like, you know, that's really not a bad way to do this. Like, it tells you right up front what it is. You know, kind of like if you're to do it with Star Wars, you know, start it off with someone telling a story. You know, because I've heard the argument before that all of Star Wars is just C-3PO telling someone a story. Because, I mean, aside from up until they meet Anakin, he's there throughout the whole thing. You know?
But
I mean, Solo's the only thing he's not in. If you think about it.
yeah, he's in Rogue One.
Yeah, although I think it actually has to be R2 telling the story because he's in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
But still, you know, you get the concept. And that would be an interesting thing, you know, if like they do ever make like a final Star Wars movie and it's literally just R2 and 3PO telling someone the story, you know. Kind of like this thing I keep seeing popping up that's like, oh, Earth exists in the Star Wars galaxy. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, did you not read the opening crawl? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's not in our galaxy. It's right there.
It's a different galaxy.
Like, it's right there in the opening crawl. Like, oh, I hate those stupid things on YouTube. Not YouTube, it's on Facebook usually.
YouTube Shorts is
Or
also unreliable.
Yeah, or the one that's like, oh, here's Ahsoka. Like, she's like the ultimate Star Wars character. It goes through all these things like, and then beat Darth Vader. And all the comments like, no, Darth Vader killed her. Like, you didn't understand that episode, apparently. Like, she died.
And then Ezra had to go back in time to
Yes.
stop her from dying.
Yeah, it's like, no, she lost and couldn't beat Vader if she wanted to. Like, George Lucas was quite clear that nobody can beat Vader. Like, except for Luke. Well, that's it. Because Vader is just like the unstoppable Force juggernaut killing machine. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, end of story.
No, and then like, I don't know, just like, and yeah, I've seen things in YouTube Shorts where like, oh, well, this character could beat Vader. I'm like, no, they can't.
Yeah, according to Lucas, the Emperor is more powerful. But that's only because Vader lost his limbs. Because like losing mass and midichlorians and all that, you know. So he's lesser. If it were still Anakin, he'd be stronger than the Emperor. And that Luke is conceivably stronger than Anakin. Potentially. And so, although the whole like you can overthrow the Emperor and the Emperor's foreseen this, the problem is the Emperor didn't foresee exactly how he was going to be literally overthrown down a reactor shaft. Like, some irony right there. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I just hope it's someone more competent, and I hope we don't find out that this has really all just come from Bob Iger, and that Kathleen was just like okaying it. You know, like I hope, like you said, that actual change does occur. So, here's hoping. So now, to the other Star Wars rumor, and I'm going to be clear, even all the comments I've seen say this one is purely a rumor, there's not really anything backing it up, but it's the kind of thing that like highlights some other problems, because like, you hear it and you're like, I could see that. So, supposedly, Mara Jade is going to make the jump to live action. And supposedly she's going to be played by Zendaya.
Isn't she busy in Shrek 5?
Shrek 5, Dune 3, half the other movies in Hollywood? Yeah, pretty much. Uh, yeah. Now, in case you've never seen a picture of either of these two, of either the fictional character Mara Jade or the not so fictional Zendaya, like, they don't look anything alike. Mara Jade is, I don't know, skin color kind of like this Invincible Iron Man box back here that I don't think you can actually see now. She's paler than I am, okay? And red hair and green eyes. Now, that doesn't absolutely exclude a non-white person, but like, it's pretty close. And it's nothing at all against Zendaya. I think she's an okay actress. I do question her acting range because, at least in Dune and Spider-Man, her range seems to basically be pouting and occasionally smiling. And I just don't picture Mara Jade as that. Like, that's not how I read her from the Thrawn trilogy at all. So, no, I just don't think she's the one. I don't mind her playing another Star Wars character. Like I said, I think she's an okay actress. Seems to be popular. You know, cast her in something, go for it. Just make it an original character or a more appropriate character. You know. Total side note, but as a person of red hair, I'm getting very tired of fictional redheaded characters being erased from Hollywood movies and being replaced by non-redhead people. Yeah, getting kind of tired of it. Like, if you don't think that like it's actually happening, like, look it up. Someone's made like a composite picture of like 100 some odd characters that have just been like completely swapped. And for people to talk about representation, this matters because the whole red hair thing, it's like one of the smallest minorities on the planet. It's like 1 to 1.5% of the population. Did you know that, Owen?
No.
Yeah, it's actually quite rare.
Which is funny because I know multiple people with red hair in my school.
Yeah. Actually, I heard the other day that the gene for it, they were claiming it actually originates in Asia, if I remember right. I just don't see that, but because it's not dominant in Asia. Although supposedly Genghis Khan had red hair. I've read that somewhere, which is surprising because none of his progeny do. The 1/3 of the men in Asia. You know about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He got around. But yeah, no, it's predominant in the Scandinavian countries and in Scotland. Not Ireland like a lot of people think. And most people in Ireland have black hair. It's Scotland where you primarily see it. But you do see it elsewhere. I've read that one of the pharaohs supposedly had red hair. As people in Rome supposedly had red hair. It's a genetic mutation. It can just spontaneously happen. But where it's dominant are those two regions, which is how I know I either have Scottish or Viking DNA in me somewhere. Because I'm not the only one in my family that's red hair. It's not a spontaneous mutation in me. There's several other members. But yeah, I'm getting a little tired of that. So I would like to see an actual redhead play her, or someone that looks like you would expect a redhead to look. Which is why I would go with like Bryce Dallas Howard, perhaps, because she can act and has red hair. Although, very ironically, in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, she played Gwen Stacy, who's a blonde, and Kirsten Dunst, who played Mary Jane, is blonde and had to use a wig or dye to make her hair red. So they were reversed. But yeah, either her or maybe Deborah Ann Wall might be able to do it. She's a good actress. I really like her in the Daredevil series. She was good in True Blood. She might be able to do it. I'm kind of at a loss after that, but we could find someone. And again, I don't have a problem with Zendaya. Cast her as someone else. I can live with that. Owen, any thoughts on Zendaya, Mara Jade casting?
Well, I mean, even if they did want to bring in Mara Jade, this has less to do with the casting, more of a general logistical issue of with the entire sequel trilogy thing. I don't see how it could fit in.
Well, I think they'd almost have to do like what I mentioned last time. Since Ahsoka Season 1 brought Thrawn into the main universe again, the main galaxy, just fire up the Thrawn trilogy right there. Like, the sequel trilogy is still a good 15 years out, if I remember right. 10, 15 years. And the Thrawn trilogy take maybe a year in the timeline, if that. Like, you could do it. Introduce her there. Her and Luke clearly have a fling. Then they have a falling out of some kind or something. She never shows back up. Luke doesn't know he's got a kid. And then she shows up after the sequel trilogy, finds Rey. Or she dies somewhere in between. The kid finds Rey. Then Rey can also steal Luke's kid and not just his last name. Because, she's a Palpatine. They're evil. I'm never going to live that down. Oh, I stole everything from you, Luke. Your movie trilogy, your house, your lightsaber. I'm going to top it off. I'm going to steal your last name, too. God, what a horrible movie.
Doesn't it just make you wish that George Lucas sequel trilogy?
Yes. Or if Palpatine would have won. I can live with that. Let him rule the galaxy forever. I don't care. He at least would have been ready for the Yuuzhan Vong.
I don't think we're gonna get. I don't know if we're gonna get the Yuuzhan Vong.
No. We'll never see the Yuuzhan Vong. And there's probably people out there that are actually cheering that fact. They weren't very popular, but no. I do wonder, though, if we really do get someone else in charge, there is something else they can do to try to bring back fans.
Live action Old Republic.
Live action Old Republic we good, as long as someone competent's making it. If they screw up Revan, like, people are going to storm the walls over there with pitchforks and torches. But and they'll have the video gamers with them too at that point. No, if they were to actually like take the Legends canon and at least make animated movies of some of it, like if we're not going to get it live action, at least give us animated, and then also like continue the Legends canon. Be like, all right, obviously we're not going this way with the movies, but there's no reason we can't do this. Marvel does it very easily. Marvel has the comics and they have the movies. Within the comics, there's all kinds of other alternate realities. We could easily do this. Just continue on with Legends canon. Tell Timothy Zahn here, right to your heart's content. Get Michael Stackpole back over there. Just go. But, yeah, because I saw this thing the other day. It was like an animated version of the fight between Vader and Luke and Bespin. And so I got to wondering, because they just took the lines and the music from the movie and just put it in the animated version. And I was like, this wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they're actually going to, if anyone's flirting with the idea of redoing the original trilogy, do it like this so that stuff lines up more with all of the rest of Star Wars. Because, the lightsaber battles in the rest of Star Wars do not look like they look like in the original trilogy. Maybe animated, you make them more pizzazz, more exaggerated. You just keep the voices, keep the music, go with that. Because, the Battle of Hoth, they redid that too. That looked pretty awesome. Vader's just, strolling up to the Rebel base and just, force rips the door off and just goes in all, end of Rogue One on the Rebels with, legions of stormtroopers backing him up. Because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah, something like that, I could see that working. I don't know if I'd just put them on Disney Plus. I think I'd put them in theaters. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, this is the 20th anniversary for Revenge of the Sith.
2025.
Yeah. It's going to be in theaters again for a while in May.
Nice. I'll have to see that again.
Yeah, I want to. I won't be able to match my Phantom Menace record, but
Because I'm gonna die on this hill and say that Revenge of the Sith is the best prequel movie.
yeah, by far. Uh, yeah,
Oh,
I think I only ended up seeing it 5 times in the theaters, as opposed to the 9 times I've seen the Phantom Menace. Twice has been after it was the original release, because I saw the 3D version, because that was the only one they released in 3D. They released it in 3D. I was like, I need to see this because this one was shot on film, like the original trilogy. So I need to see how this is actually going to be updated, because the other two are digital. They're easy to update to 3D, not so much film. And it looked really good. So I was like, okay, so when they get around to the original trilogy, I know it's going to look great. And then they just never did, because it got sold to Disney. Disney's like, it's stupid. They're like, no, you're stupid. My epic comeback. But yeah, because it was stupid on their part, because, they skipped the 4 movies everyone really likes. And it could have just been like all kinds of goodwill, brought in a bunch of money, and like, the people were like, sequel trilogy, who cares?
I mean, what? When did the New Hope first come out?
1977.
2 years. Well, the 50th anniversary of A New Hope.
Yeah, I assume they're going to put it back in theaters whenever it happens. Like, they'd be stupid not to. And I don't mean like for one weekend. I mean like just release the whole original trilogy again for like the whole summer. Like, they won't, because it'll outproduce any movies they release. They'll be like, oh, go watch this new MCU. Oh, fuck you, we're going to watch Star Wars again. Going to watch the whole trilogy in one day, every day for a month. That's what people will do. That they'll be like, this movie's only 2 hours long. We can do this twice a day.
No, you just you just need to have all the Star Wars movies back to back in like chronological order.
Yeah. So 1 to 6. Do you include Solo and Rogue One in between?
Yeah.
Include the Clone Wars movie? Oh, the tough decision now. You don't want people to leave the theater.
I mean, it's bad, but it's not the worst piece. But then again, it's not very good either.
Yeah, the problem is when you get to 7, 8, and 9, people are going to be like, nope. I'll be back tomorrow to watch the other 8 again. Not these 3. No, that's like, I never did go watch them, but like theaters, whenever like Infinity War came out, they ran all of the Marvel movies. And people were like trying to decide which ones to sleep through, so that like they wouldn't have to leave the theater.
Man.
By the way, the like almost unanimous decision was Thor 2 on that one, by the way.
I can't blame them.
Yeah.
I've not seen Thor 2, but I've heard I've not seen Thor 1 either.
It's not that it's a bad movie, it's just not as good as the others. Like, that's the problem. Even the bad movies, the first chunk of the MCU up to Endgame, they're not bad movies. Okay, even Captain Marvel's not a bad movie. It's an okay movie. Thor 2 is an okay movie. Iron Man 2 is a decent movie.
I mean, the problem is that Endgame was the peak of Mount Everest.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like, good luck topping this. And Kevin Feige's like, challenge accepted. And everyone's like, no, Kevin, no.
And then 2 years later, we got the Eternals.
Yeah, the Eternals, which set up a Blade movie that's apparently not going to happen. So
I don't know. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
yeah, I mean, there's like real talk about just bringing back Wesley Snipes. And I'm like, all right, I don't have a problem with that.
How old is he?
I don't care. Just the plot to the movie, the proposed plot was already that he was going to pass things on to his daughter. I mean, now it just makes more sense.
I mean, yeah.
So, just
bring the actual Blade movies into the MCU.
Yeah, they could have existed there the whole time. Because as someone pointed out now, thanks to Spider-Man, technically the first movie in the MCU is the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. Because, I mean, it's part of it now. So it's now technically the oldest MCU movie.
Yeah.
Which means, like, the only movies that aren't MCU movies are, like... I don't even know if I can say the X-Men movies. I don't think I can.
Well, no, because
they're in Deadpool 2.
Well, no, and
then Deadpool's in the MCU.
And Sony's weird Spider-Man, not Spider-Man movies. I mean, Venom had a cameo.
Yeah, Venom had a cameo. I assume the others are in the same universe. I haven't watched them, so I don't know. Like, Daredevil is, because of Deadpool 3. The Fantastic Four movies are because of Deadpool 3. I think only the stupid Josh Trank Fantastic Four movie isn't.
F4tastic.
Yeah, that one. So yeah, I think the Blade movies might be the only ones that aren't. Well, no, the Blade movies have to be because he's
in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. I think they brought everything in with that movie. Between that movie and Spider-Man, I think all the Marvel properties back to like the late 90s are all technically in the MCU now. So I guess it'd actually be Blade as the first one. Wow. I hadn't even thought about that.
The multiverse has really just blown up the MCU.
Yeah. Now we just need as Vincent D'Onofrio to reprise his role from Adventures in Babysitting as Thor. You've probably never seen that movie, have you?
No.
Okay, so this girl, she has to babysit, I think it's her sister, and like she has plans to go on a date and it gets ruined. She got to, so it's usual 80s mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
And at some point, like, they have to go pick up her friend, so they got to drive into downtown Chicago. Their car gets towed or something. Like, they go to the garage, and the guy that's working there is Vincent D'Onofrio, but it's like 80s Vincent D'Onofrio, so he's like pretty ripped, and And the younger girl, is a big fan of Thor, the comic book, and she's got like a helmet and everything. So she's like, "Oh, you're clearly Thor." And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about, kid?" He's got like a big hammer and everything. But then, like at the end of the movie, like he shows up in costume and everything. Like apparently he was Thor. So like, yeah, we need him to come back. We need John Rhys Davies because he played the Kingpin in the Deadpool or in the Hulk movie that Daredevil was in, where he was the lawyer. I'm pretty sure Bill Bixby's dead, so we can't get him back. But we can get Lou Ferrigno as an alternate version of the Hulk, because I know he's still alive and pretty big. We'll get Eric Bana from the 2000-something Hulk movie to come back. Yeah. This could be done. Get whoever played Captain America in the 90s movie. Get the Italian Red Skull back.
Okay, but where does Japanese Spider-Man fit into this?
Oh, Japanese Spider-Man better be there. He's got the giant robot, right?
I think so.
Oh, he's definitely got to be there. Yeah, that would be great if they somehow got all those guys into it. Get the other Thor from the Hulk movie that he's in with, the Bill Bixby Hulk. Yeah, that'd be great. But anyway,
where were we?
Talking about the Mara Jade rumor.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think the only way to bring her in is to do the Thrawn trilogy or something like it, probably in the Ahsoka series. Although ideally they do it in movies, but yeah. Because I want to see Luke's evil clone. Luke. Who literally just screams at him before he, charges, and then Mara Jade kills him. Which, makes it so that... How far into the Thrawn trilogy are you?
I'm just starting out on book 2.
Okay. Well, forget I said all that.
No, you've spoiled this. This is like the 4th time.
Well, sorry, Owen. There are books that came out in the 90s,
I really don't care about spoilers at this point.
Yeah, so she's been, programmed by the Emperor with his powers, to kill Luke, okay? So when she kills the clone, that like satisfies the programming and it goes away. So, yeah. And then of course Drew Sabath, the clone there, which that's great. I assume you've met him so far in the books.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. And Thrawn did mention to Paleli and how he knows he's a clone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
he killed the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be something else. The Outbound Flight book, that would be good to turn into a thing. Because you'd only need Palpatine, Anakin, and Obi-Wan for like the first little bit of it. And then it's a bunch of characters you don't know anything about. And Thrawn. So yeah, that would be a good one to turn into a movie. But yeah, I don't know. I hope the rumor's true because again, I think that means they're going to try to make the Thrawn trilogy. But we'll see, I guess. But only once Kathy's gone.
I mean, weren't they like? Wasn't the Thrawn trilogy basically going to be the Ahsoka movie?
Maybe. I don't know.
Are they still making the Ahsoka movie?
Well, I thought they were going to like tie up all of the shows in a movie. It was just going to fall under the banner of The Mandalorian. I thought they were going to like fuse the plots essentially. Is what I'd originally heard, but that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
Well,
plus I don't know how you would do it.
Like the Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah.
What, did I give you a little bit of a flashback there?
Trying to think about that. That didn't even give us the one thing it could have given us. A Lego minifigure of Danny Trejo. Because he's the Rancor guy,
Yeah.
Like, it still didn't give us that. And, like, it could have.
I mean, what? We got Boba Fett back. Well, in namesake only.
I was going to say, I think it's a failed clone, but...
We got live-action Cad Bane.
That's true. He was good. I liked him. We got to find out that... what the hell is his name? Jabba's major domo there, the Twi'lek.
Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna. We found out he somehow survived because, like, I'm 100% certain he was on the sail barge.
When it exploded.
And I didn't see him dive off, so... yeah, but he survived and got really fat. Then Boba Fett just shot him in the face. Then
one of the good parts of the series.
Yes. We got to see Boba Fett get revenge against the Sarlacc pit when he dropped the seismic charge down into it. We got to see a street gang of kids on space Vespas.
Yes. Boba Fett needs to recruit them into his gang.
Yeah, we got to see a few other members of the Hutt species. The Pike Syndicate doing their thing. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. It's definitely on the lesser end, but it's not as bad as the Acolyte. And for one random episode, it became the Mandalorian. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of wondering how much they're going to take advantage of the fact for the Mandalorian movie that they don't actually have to have what's his name on set like ever. All right, you just need to read these lines. All right, stunt guy doing the rest. Sure thing.
Yeah, I don't think Pedro Pascal is a bad actor.
No, I don't think he's a bad actor or anything. But it's like Zendaya, he's just like being cast in everything.
Like,
so,
I mean, like The Mandalorian, we got him as Joel from The Last of Us.
Yeah, he's Mr. Fantastic. He was Maxwell Lord in the second Wonder Woman movie. He was in Game of Thrones, where he was kind of a good character until the mountain literally crushed his skull with his bare hands. That was gruesome.
Or when he was in the Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, that was great. Have you seen that movie?
No, I should really.
Yeah. The meme where you see constantly them driving along. If I remember right, that's after they took some acid. Because, like, the CIA has to recruit Nicolas Cage to go find out what this guy's doing. And, like, he calls his handler at one point. He's like, I took some acid, but I think I'm handling it all right. Like, I'll get back to you. And they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? He's like, I couldn't blow my cover. And, like, the guy's like a super Nicolas Cage fan. That's why he hired him. And he shows him, like, his shrine. He's got, like a wax statue of him from Face Off. And he's got the guns from the movie. And Nicolas Cage is like, you know those are real guns, right? Like, we couldn't, like, make fakes. Like, those actually fire real bullets. And he's like, yeah, I know. They're loaded. And so, like, towards the end of the movie, Nicolas Cage is afraid the guy's going to kill him. So while he wasn't paying attention, he stole one of the guns. And so, like, well, the guy is actually going to kill him because, like, it's like a drug front kind of deal. And so the two of them have a face-off with guns. Like, they're, like, real loaded guns. He's like, Hobby, like, this is a real gun. Like, I already explained it to you. You know it has real bullets in it. He's like, I know, Nick, but, like, I've got to do this. And, you know, like, they finally realize that neither one of them really wants to kill each other. Then the guy they're laundering money for shows up and tries to kill both of them. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. It's great. Yeah. So, I don't know, what kind of time frame we're looking at here?
Right now it's about 6:20.
So we have to about 2 hours, give or take.
Yeah, we're just about to hit the 2 hour mark right now.
Yeah, probably better not go into much else then, because these episodes are getting kind of long. Because the other thing that I talked about talking about is like a very lengthy conversation. So, the space stuff.
Oh yeah, you mentioned the space stuff, and I completely forgot what we were talking about.
Like basically that we as a species, but also particularly the U.S., we need to be building more things in space. We need more space infrastructure so that we can build other things. Like, we need to build the things that will let us build things in space. You know, like harvesting materials, production facilities, things like this, so that we can actually expand. And
didn't we just recently land our first, like, miner on an asteroid?
Maybe.
I think that happened like a couple days ago.
Maybe, but also I saw a guy's video who made a very compelling case for going to the moon first. So I need to apologize to your dad that I've come around to his way of thinking, though not for the same reasons. He thinks we should do it because of, like, technical reasons, like testing things that we'd use on Mars. But the environments are too different. I don't think it would make any difference testing stuff on the moon because there's greater gravity. There is an atmosphere. Like, Mars is a different animal than the moon. However, there's one thing I overlooked. The moon is probably insanely rich in resources. Because unlike the Earth, where we have to mine for everything, asteroids hit the moon and just smash on the surface. There's no mining needed. It's right there. And there might be more material there than out in the asteroid belt. Like, not that we want to mine it to that point, but, like, also because of the moon's mass, we could probably mine it for a couple centuries before we have to worry about, like, its shifting position because of loss of mass. So, like, the surface of the moon is probably just littered with all kinds of crap we can use. And so we set a production facility there that will enable us to build the other things that we'll need to expand. Because, like, say going to Mars, ideally we build a ship in space that's going to stay in space. You know, so we don't have to worry about the whole getting up from the surface of the Earth. Because that requires certain aerodynamics and things versus space travel. So if we had a dedicated ships that just remained in space, they could be more efficient, we could put more stuff on them, etc., etc. But we need to actually be able to build them in space.
Now, what I say the case for like having like a moon base is not, well, because technical stuff, but mainly just to show that we could do it.
Yes, we do also want to beat certain other countries to the moon for a base, because other countries have said they plan on building a base up there also.
Well,
so, yes.
To show we could do it, and also it's much easier to plan logistics.
Yeah, there is definitely a case to be made that, like, if something goes wrong on the moon, at the very least, we might actually be able to rescue the people up there. If something goes wrong on Mars, like, we'll see in 9 months, maybe, if you're really lucky.
Oh yeah, it's like months versus days.
Yeah, so there's something to be said for that, for attempting to build structures elsewhere, that it could be useful. Because to do anything on Mars, we will ultimately need to build structures that aren't going anywhere. And they'll probably have to be underground. But no, because like I'm not convinced that we'll ever be able to terraform Mars. That's like the work of centuries if we're lucky. But building permanent structures on Mars, that we can do. And there's certain scientific reasons for doing it. There's also like resource reasons for doing it, because say we're actually going to try to mine the asteroids. It's way easier to bring them down to the surface of Mars. We'll aim them so they don't hit the buildings that we built, and then go strip them down, get whatever we're trying to get, or maybe even make finished products. And then because of Mars' lesser gravity, it's easier to lift up into orbit and then bring it back to Earth, if that's what we're trying to do. Because there's also the case to be made that we might not be able to do that as effectively as people think. Because, like, say you get a giant asteroid full of metals and stuff. Okay, how are you going to get it down to Earth? Like, there's an obvious way, but it's going to cause some pretty obvious problems, too. You know, like, you are at the top of the gravity well. Like, you can just let nature take its course. But, like, better make sure you hit, like, in the middle of, like, the southern Pacific Ocean or something. Because otherwise, you're going to cause one hell of a tsunami somewhere. And then it's going to sink to the bottom. You know, so, like, what do? You know, your best bet is if you're making finished products that are best made in space, and then because of low gravity or something, and then loading them onto a ship and bringing them down in a controlled descent. But then you're dealing with, you can only have so many because the ships are only going to be so big. So there's a lot of logistics, like maybe the whole mining things in space isn't going to work out for helping Earth necessarily, but we could use it to build more stuff in space, which that could ultimately help the Earth. Because, just like the original space program, I'm sure we're going to face all kinds of engineering problems that once we figure out solutions, they'll have applications on Earth as well. You know, like that's how we got the ballpoint pen. The whole space race was worth that just by itself. They hadn't beaten the commies, which that's basically what we're going to be trying to do now, just different commies. The Chinese. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about this. He's like, we didn't go to the moon because we're like, oh, it's there, we've got to do it. We did it to beat the Russians. And he's like, you want to get stuff done on Mars? Create a fake story that the Chinese are angling to go to Mars. And we'll devote all kinds of resources to beat them to it. So yeah, I don't know if terraforming Mars is realistic, but permanent structures there for scientific research, and for other things, sure. And maybe even get to the point that we have actual cities, you know, because I'm given to understand that the whole, like, there is radiation issues because there's no atmosphere. No, sorry, there's an atmosphere, there's no magnetic field. But the levels of radiation are apparently easy to deal with. We probably just need to put lead in the walls, or sandbags of Martian dirt would be enough, because it's notably farther from the sun than the Earth is. So, but now there's a whole other conversation though that I would find fascinating that I'd like to have, as far as like, okay, so how is like the internet going to work there? Like, are we going to build like a string of satellites so that like we can maintain a signal, or is it going to be like ships are going to like bring like massive hard drives of like copying stuff from here. Like people like put in a request or something, like bring me the updates for these sites. And then at what point do you reach a critical mass of people there that like they start having their own internet stuff, like their own memes, like people filming movies up there, and like people on Earth being like, "Hey, just send some of that stuff back over here." You know, like at what point does like a whole culture begin to develop there? Is basically like, you know.
I mean, yeah, the isolation could do that, but the isolation also poses severe mental health problems.
Well, sure, that's why you need a lot of people so they can all be alone together.
Well, yeah, that's why we can't. We need, like, probably the population of the ISS and more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like for that kind of divergence, I mean, we're probably talking hundreds of thousands of people, you know, and they'll have to be there long enough that they'll begin to overcome their initial differences from Earth and become kind of like the United States. You know, initially we were, you know, the English, the French, the Germans, you know, the Spanish, the natives, and like over time we've kind of conglomerated into something closer to a cohesive unit. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And so like it takes time, and yeah, so it takes a critical mass of people, but it will also take time. It'll take people being born, living, and dying there. You know,
Yeah, how's birth in space gonna work?
in space, I don't know. On Mars, it'll be different because Mars does have some gravity.
It's low gravity environment.
It's lower than Earth, but it's not as low as space. There's radiation, but there's not as much as space. That's why I've got a book that's about like terraforming Mars and everything. Well, exploring Mars. And the guy points out repeatedly that like it doesn't do us any good to send a ship there, circle the planet a few times, and turn around, because that whole time they're being exposed to cosmic radiation. Like you need to actually go down to the surface where you're actually kind of protected for a while, do your tests, you know, do things like you need to plan on being there for a while to make it worthwhile, you know. And then if they're going to turn around and come back, you know, leave structures behind. Did you see The Martian?
No.
It's a good movie. It's one of the very few movies where like science actually solves the problems instead of creating them. It's very pro science. It's very pro like humanity can overcome things. You know, it's an overall very positive movie, and it takes a lot from this book I'm mentioning as far as like the plan. So in the movie, they have supplies for several different missions are already there on Mars. You know, because they wanted backups, they wanted things for future missions, and so the guy that gets stuck there has supplies to work with. He just has to go get them. So same concept, except like the base, you would also have multiples of those. And once you finally found your ideal location, then you start bringing all that stuff together and connecting it, and you have the beginnings of an actual like of a real structure. You know, with multiple pods that can do multiple things. And, you know, you just begin adding to it with more stuff that you're sending to Mars, because not everything has to be a manned mission. You just send unmanned rockets full of stuff. You know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting book, like the one I'm talking about. It's The Case for Mars, I think is what it's called. I've got to find it because I don't think I finished it. But yeah, you know, and then there's the people who are saying, well, we should go to Venus instead. Like, okay. I mean, I think the idea is floating cities, definitely not the surface. Because
well,
the surface is a hellscape.
Okay, the floating city idea. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, I think that assumes that you're not going to try to terraform the planet. Because eventually the atmosphere won't be as thick and your cities are going to fall. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's assuming you're just going to leave the planet as the hellscape. Because, yeah, like sulfuric acid rain constantly. Yeah, no thanks. But yeah, I mean, I think that these are the things that we need to do, and we need to start doing them. And so that's why, like, I read, again, I make the mistake of reading things online. And I see people that are like, why are we spending money on this? Like, we've got to solve problems here. And I'm like, well, number one, it will help solve problems here by increasing our resources ultimately. But number two, if that's your logic, we will never leave this planet. There will always be problems here. By that logic, we'd still be in the caves. You know, there's always problems. You could try to solve multiple problems at once. Like, by that logic, why do we even go to the moon? You know? We had problems then. Yeah, we had worse problems then, in my opinion. And so, like, I don't understand that mentality at all. Or the people are like, well, what do we need in space? And I'm like, you're probably typing this on a cell phone right now that needs satellites to work. Where do you think they are? Like, they're in space. Like, how do you think they got there? We had to have rockets to take them up there. We had to have a whole infrastructure to support them functioning. And it's just like, people are just so short-sighted. Also, NASA's budget is like tiny. It's like 1 or 2% of the federal budget. And it's the only part that's ever actually delivered a return on investment. Like, if anything, we should be giving them more money. And you know, like, I know at the moment, the head of SpaceX is a bit of a controversial figure. Fair enough. But SpaceX is also not the only game in town. Like, Jeff Bezos is also throwing his hat into the Bond villain ring and wanting to be a space guy too. Literally, he wears a cowboy hat around to hide his bald head. I think. I don't know. Seems to be alright with the bald head thing. Although it does look like Blofeld from the Bond movies. But, or Lex Luthor if you prefer. Or just Telly Savalas, I guess, just not as masculine. But Telly Savalas is a hell of an actor. Wish he was still around. But yeah, so I mean, there's other companies, and like, there's now competition. Like, so theoretically, things will improve. You know, plus we have competition, you know, from China and India. And we're still dependent on the Russians taking stuff up to space for us, even though we're kind of vaguely at war with them. You know, kind of like Europe. They want to back everything against them, but they're still buying gas from them. I don't get it. I don't know. I think they're all stupid.
I think politics is ridiculous.
Oh, very much so. That's one reason why I try to avoid talking about it.
And I think if we had a moon base, to be able to send larger rockets with more components, we send the pieces up to the moon and assemble them in a low-gravity environment because you don't need nearly as much power to take off.
Yeah, and like using the moon as like a
staging ground.
Like a staging ground, refueling, resupplying, things like that. You know, that I can totally get behind. And I'm sure there's also research stuff to do up there too. You know, not just mining it. You know, I'm sure there are plenty of research opportunities. And you know, as much as I complain about like the Chinese on things, like I don't have a problem with them also having a base up there as long as we're all in agreement that we're not militarizing them. You know, as long as that's the case, like if we're doing this like in the case of, you know, because like I said, we've been cooperating with the Russians since like the 90s on space stuff. Even though they've been theoretically our enemies since the 50s. Like, but we cooperate on space stuff, so I think we could put these things behind us with China as well. And if India wants to jump into the game, you know, sure thing.
Well, I mean,
we're talking the future of humanity, not just the future of the United States.
Yeah, you're saying we're already cooperating on the ISS.
Yeah, you know, and maybe we need to begin looking at, you know, a larger facility, like a larger orbiting facility or multiple orbiting facilities. You know, obviously it'll take lots of planning and moving parts up, and maybe we build onto the ISS, maybe we build something else, you know, and that might be the thing that we actually build in space is the modules for that, you know, because we can build larger components in space once we have the materials, you know, and like you said, maybe we send the pieces up and assemble them in space and then put them into orbit, you know. It's just there's a lot of things that we could be doing that we should be doing. And, you know, we're not. So, yeah. We have to, because otherwise we are doomed as a species. Something is going to come along and smack into the earth, or a deadly virus is going to be released, or people are going to decide, hey, I like the cut of the jib of those Mad Max movies. Let's get this nuclear apocalypse rolling so we can get to that point. Like, I personally think that's the most likely scenario that we're going to doom ourselves. So I got the long hair, folks. This is warlord material right here. Give me some bone piercings through my nose, and I'll be ready to go. I won't be able to see shit once my glasses break, but that's all right. That's why I use a gun that shoots automatic. Easier to hit things. But yeah, like more seriously, like we have to do these things as a species. And like we talk about sci-fi stuff, like, you know, the first steps are taken somewhere. Like, may as well be in our lifetimes. Like, I don't think I'll ever step foot on another planet or anything, you know? Like, I didn't, you know, just like, probably not going to happen. Yeah. No reason can't start, though. Yeah. Owen, you got anything else?
No.
No, soaring optimism for the future and or pessimism for the present?
No, not really.
All right, well, fair enough. Kind of hard to come up with that on the spot. But yeah, like that's a longer conversation I would like to have. And again, like I said, the whole like, what's it going to take for culture to develop elsewhere? You know, that's interesting. Like, I want your dad to come back to some Star Trek stuff like that. I want to talk about like, do you think the various ships have like their own internal memes? And like when they get back to Starbase, to like swap them around or something? You know, do you think anything like that happens in Star Trek? You know. But anyway, so your dad. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's where we're going to go ahead and cut this one off, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully we didn't ramble too much. Still got over the 2-hour mark. I was not aiming for that, but here we are. Yeah. So I think that's all we're going to be talking about here today. Comment down there what you think about any of this, any of these particular topics you want us to talk more about later. Mainly that last one because it was kind of current news. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting are what helps grow the channel. We always appreciate it. But other than that, I think we're going to be signing off here. So this will end another episode of the podcast. So thank you folks for watching, and we will see you later.
See ya.